I'm Amy Wakefield.
I'm Richard Wakefield. We are commercial beekeepers.
We've been doing this since 1981. Been doing it a long time.
I've really loved honey, and I just was curious about the process. And I thought it'd be cheaper if I owned my own business. I just, enjoyed working with the insects. It's just kind of a fascinating occupation.
I didn't realize at the time it was unusual for women to get into the field, but somebody hired me and I started to learn, and I liked it, so just stuck with it. Well, we primarily are running our bees for honey.
3 years ago, we were running about 1,000 hives, and we used to be migratory and take half the bees to South Carolina in the fall and winter, bring them back in the spring.
We basically are wholesalers of honey. This area is fortunate because it produces really nice quality honey. So most of our honey is sold like liquid honey in barrels.
Amy makes candles with our wax that we have left over in the extracting process, but we have more beeswax than we know what to do with, so we wholesale the beeswax to other candle makers.
We've had bear problems, that's an issue. So we have certain locations where we have bear fences, vandalism and theft, which is unfortunate, but it has happened.
A lot of people just don't realize the work involved. Or we had one customer come in and tell us the bees did all the work. And sure, they made the honey, but there was a little bit of effort on our part to get it from point A to point B.
The way they make honey is by going to flowers and gathering nectar. So you need a lot of open space with just, we don't feed the bees, we're just, they're making their own living.
I remember when I first started, I was reading books about beekeeping, and one of the books said, well, if you're going to be a beekeeper, expect to get stung. And I shook my head and thought, well, those people just are doing something wrong. And well, I learned the first time out that yes, you're going to get stung. It's just inevitable. I mean, if you're a dairy farmer, you might get kicked, or it's just part of, it just happens. You don't really think about it too much after a while.
Well, honey is thick. Honey is, it can only be 18.6% moisture to be considered like grade A. And you don't want it any higher because it could ferment, and that's not honey anymore, really. So it's thick, and a lot of times in the fall, the temperatures are cool, so we can put it in the hot room and warm it up. It spins out so much more easily.
And the comb is very delicate. I mean, it's amazing what the bees can build, a hexagonal pattern that holds all this honey, and by warming it up, it just does flow out more easily without damaging the comb too much. When we're out in the bee yard this time of year, there's honey on the hive, so we'll be taking the boxes of honey off one at a time so we can get down and look at the actual beehive where the queen lives, and we'll see if we can find the queen and maybe even have a few drones. See if we can find some drones. The bulk of the bees will be workers, but
I often tell people that a beehive is maybe analogous to a garden. Like in the spring, like you were saying, the numbers have dwindled over the winter, so you have fewer individuals. You still have a queen. And then when, like the first big honey flow is usually dandelions, and the queen will just expand her egg laying, and lots of new bees are being hatched, and the hive is just growing and growing. And usually in this area, usually about the middle to end of June is when we say the main honey flow, which is when we can really expect to see extra honey being made for us, because the bees are eating honey all the time, so they have to make enough to feed themselves, and then hopefully they'll make enough for us to have extra. So
Well, obviously it's an agricultural county, which helps because We just need open spaces to put bees, and depending on the crops that they're growing, there's alfalfa, clover blooming, that's a big bonus. And just about everybody is very agreeable to having bees on their property.
You know, all the little brushy spots and the hedgerows and the ditches, all those things are good for bees, so we like to see them left alone. But it is just a good area, the way the soil is and everything. The honey is very light colored, which brings a premium price. And that's really nothing to do with us, it's just the way this area is, and it's always been that way. It's always been noted for good honey, so.